All right, hello everyone. I wanted to be outside today, but I'm not really in the sun. Let's see. And the roses aren't grown right now. But nevertheless, here we are. And today we're talking about what all spiritual teachings talk about in some way or another. So I welcome all people of all religions. My name is Dr. Cheryl Meyer. I'm a psychologist in my day job. I'm all about love. I'm always wearing this, I had to get a new chain, but this heart necklace to remind me to drop down from my head into my heart. And so you have, but today we're going to talk about how being present changes everything in your life. How basically, we're looking at how to not add negativity to your own life and to other people's, to this world. Because why ought we do that? And so I'll bring up scriptures. Sometimes I have scriptures that come to me while I'm teaching and that were coming to me while I was reflecting on this. But I don't want to alienate anyone. I want everyone to feel welcome. So one of them is Jesus saying in John 15, he says, I'm the vine, you are the branches. Remain in my love. That's in that passage. And so how do we remain in love? One of these ways that I was reflecting on today in this, I was reading this book by a guy named Eckhart Tolle. And I think he was baptized as a child, if you understand what that means. But he does not call himself a Christian. And so sometimes he says things that might be confusing to a Christian. And so it might be confusing to someone else. But other times he explains what Christ is saying on a level that most Christians do not understand. So I'm always in a quandary with when I quote him, because I love him so much and he's helped me understand Christ so much, but he's also not leading people to Christ. So just take that juxtaposition and go with me here, because he has these amazing insights. I learned at my college, I went to a Bible college, they were like, all truth is God's truth. And even Meister Eckhart, where Eckhart Tolle got his name from, Meister Eckhart was a Christian German mystic and preacher in Cologne, Germany. That's where he resided towards the end of his life, at least. He said that that God is so intertwined with truth that if you took the name God out, truth would still represent his name, or something like that. I'm botching the quote a little bit, but and so what do we do with that? What do we do when these deep truths come into our lives by people that have taken the time to contemplate them, and yet they're not aware of other truths? That's all of us. We're all imperfect. And so we have to learn how to discern. Solomon prayed that he could discern, King Solomon, because he wanted to be able to rule the people well. Now, there's other people around here, and so we're just going to hear them in the background. All right, and so he says, why make something into a problem? When something comes up in your life, why make anything into a problem? Isn't life challenging enough as it is? What do you need problems for? And I'm just going to briefly quote him, and then anyway, the mind unconsciously loves problems. Our egotism loves problems because they give you an identity of sorts. That's normal, and it is insane. It's not sane. And God did not give us, in 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but a power and love and a sound mind. And so we're meant to have a sound mind. That's the way we were created. We were created in the image and likeness of God, so we're meant to have a sound mind. And when we don't, it's important to examine that and not identify yourself as not having one. Just ask God in faith, how can I have one? How can I line back with truth? How can I... Sometimes it's in your knowing, sometimes it's in learning truths. And your knowing, I mean, if God created you, then the truth is written somewhere within you. That's in John 1:9, if you want to read that. Problems, quote, problem means that you are dwelling on a situation mentally without there being a true intention or possibility of taking action now, and that you are unconsciously making it part of your sense of self. You become overwhelmed by your life situation, so overwhelmed that you lose your sense of life, of being, or you're carrying in your mind the insane burden of 100 things that you will or may have to do in the future, instead of focusing your attention on the one thing that you can do now. You know, what is God showing you to do now, today? You know, if it's to apologize to someone, that's coming up in my mind, then, you know, it's important to go ahead and do that. I don't know why that was coming up. Maybe that's for someone. All right. He's saying, when you create a problem, you create pain. And all it takes is a simple choice, a simple decision. No matter what happens, I will create no more pain for myself. I will create no more problems. Although it's a simple choice, it's very radical. You won't make that choice unless you're truly fed up with suffering, unless you've truly had enough. All right, and so he goes on. One of the things, though, that I was reflecting on my walk back, because I read a book for us today, and then I was walking back. He says, you no longer contaminate the beautiful earth, your inner space, and the collective human psyche with the negativity of problem making. All right, and so, but the other part after that I really loved too, and I'll stay on this, was that he was talking about entering in the sacred space of doing your work, doing the work that you do here on this earth, without doing it for the result, without doing it for the end. Of course, there's all sorts of verses about having the end in mind before you start, and without a vision, people perish, and write the vision and make it plain. And these are all instructions. Most of those were in the Old Testament that help us to actually, you know, it's like I have this shoe on, and it's like someone had to imagine this shoe and then cut out the leather and figure out how to cut leather and make scissors to do that, and learn how to tan a hide, if this is real leather. I'm not sure if it is. You know, create a shoe. And so someone had to envision that. And so I'll go back to that. Let's go back to not creating problems. He gives the example, Eckhart Tolle gives the example of, you know, if there's an emergency situation, like let's say someone is in some kind of an accident. He said people just act. They don't have time to make it into a problem. They come there and they like make sure the person's stable, take them out if it's a car or something, if they can, or whatever. He says that some people pick those professions because it helps them stay in the now. It gets them outside of their own mind, because you have to be in the now, because it's life or death. And so sometimes I feel like that when I roller skate. It's like you have to pay so much attention to being in the now, or else you could hit like a little rock and fall. And so it takes you out of this monotony of being stuck in your head. But you can also learn how to not be stuck in your head, how to not create problems. So let's say you owe, I'm just going to make it really simple. You owe $100 and there's $50 in your bank account, or 100 euros or whatever. whatever the denomination is for you, the currency that is. And it doesn't have to be a problem. It just is what it is. It's a bill, and it's for you to wait and be like, of course I say take everything to prayer. There's a verse that says that. Do not worry about anything, but I think it's St. Peter wrote this. But with prayer and petition, present your request before God with thanksgiving. And the God of all mercy or something will give you a solution, basically. It's that. But Eckhart Tolle was saying in this book, so if you're not a Christian, then don't worry. Like, all of us are deserving of truth and of insight and of love and more freedom, and not enslavement to these old mind patterns. All right. And so it's an enslavement of kind. It's so interesting because I'm always like, wow, I get to help set people free, and that's weird because I'm also hearing Bob Marley saying, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear of atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Anyway, he goes on. That's a beautiful song. But so in a way, in a wonderful way, you don't need me to set you free. All I'm doing is reminding you of the truth that some part of you already knows, that we're meant to be in love, that we're meant to be free. And yet we're still here using words. Like Christ used words to teach things. He got on the mountain aside and said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. What do these things mean, So let's go back to this so we can stay on this topic. Is the main part that was so motivating me to make this video for us is, again, not that, see, our egotism always wants to say, there's this problem, there's a problem, it has to be fixed. I could be obsessive and be like, if I don't put the solution out there, then I'll know in my mind that the solution may not be out there, but it is, because he already wrote it in this book, so it's out there somewhere. But what if Christians don't get this answer, or what if this population doesn't, or whatever? And it's like, what if, all you do is your part. You do your part. I made a 1-minute video on Sunday about the law of harvest, is that God created it so that you reap what you sow. If you put a pine seed into the ground, like we have rosemary. Anyway, if you put a pine seed into the ground, it'll grow up. It'll grow up into a rosemary bush, right? God willing, with the sun and water and good soil. And so one of the main points in this passage of the book, this is in chapter 3, is that all your future moments, everything in the future, like let's say in 2 minutes from now on this video, will be a present moment for me, and it will be a present moment for you, because you'll be listening in the present moment. And so every past moment was a present moment. And so this person in his book, he had it where people were asking questions. And the person's asking, well, I don't like the problems in my everyday life right now. How am I just lying to myself when I say these aren't problems? I feel like in the future, my life is going to be better, And he's just like, if you keep bringing your past into that now moment in the future, then that now moment will be really heavy with your past. All right. Now, let me explain this really quickly, or in the time that we have remaining. this is why Jesus says, among all of the things that Jesus says, but understand this mystically and on a really deep level, when he says, if you don't forgive, you will not experience forgiveness from God. You won't have forgiveness of God, because you're not going to experience it. Like, let's just say, if this is love, and when my heart is just clear like this and empty and welcoming the love of God, then it gets like this ring that I have, right? It's like two hearts beat as one, right? I have like, it's like the infinity sign except two hearts. So God wants to give love to you, and we always have this love to give back to the Creator. You can have questions as well, but that's often in your mind. And so if you keep defining it as a problem, I wanted to say too, then your ego loves to have problems, because then it's like, oh, I get to solve this problem. And so look, I have this problem. Oh, all these other people have this problem. Look how important I am because I get to solve this problem. When I relax and I let go myself personally and be like, well, yeah, my profession is a psychologist, and I, do all this social media stuff, but it's like, that's not my identity. I'm a being, and I want to stay in my being self, and I want to know how to love. I want to know what love is, right? And so I'm exploring this with you. I was like going to take this time and write this in my journal. And then I was like, I'm just going to make a video and we can reflect on it together, because you probably don't want more negativity in your life, and you don't want to add more negativity to this world. In a way, it's kind of like someone that I love so much was teaching in a video the other day. It's okay. Let me think. I'll just leave her nameless for now. But she was saying how in her old mindset, and I can't even imagine this but I'm sure I do other things, so we don't want to judge anyone. But she was saying she had this trash in her car and she was going to roll down the window and just throw it out the window. And I'm like, what? Why would you ever do that? But she said the Holy Spirit convicted her, was like, don't you dare. Like, how can I entrust you with more things if you're about to trash the world that you live in? And of course, like when we, raise our voice at someone or get all triggered and react to them, we're polluting that psychological space. And so, and we might not think of that twice where this person might, so God is growing each of us. God is in the business of sanctifying us. If you want to understand what that is, it's like, making us holy, making us whole, making us more like this love that we were created from love, and we long for love. We long to be reunited with love. And so why wouldn't God, because he knows all the hairs on our head. Jesus said he knows all the hairs on each of our heads. Like, why wouldn't he be in the business, especially if we're yielding, if our hearts are yielding to being more loving on this earth? All right. So no more problems. I think I'm going to call this, I'll write it down, No More Problems. Sometimes I don't know the title of the book, but, of the video. All right. So if you're committed like me, and I made this commitment long ago, and I always say with God's help, because then we lean on God, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him and he'll direct your path. That's Proverbs 1, I think, or 3. But anyway, so I always do my best to invite God in, because I'm not the creator of me. Are you the creator of you? Your parents are not the creator of you, because the material they got with which to create you came from somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. So go back and find that answer, right? But you don't have to be stuck in your mind. So we're back to, look, if you notice that your egotism loves something to be a problem, because then it's drama, and then you can be like, oh, my life would be good, except for this problem and this problem and this problem. And we all have life situations. Eckhart Tolle says that, and we know that. We know that from our life. There's, we have friends or loved ones that are facing certain illnesses, and we could be consumed by that, or we could be consumed just with this $100 a bill that we have and $50 in our bank. We could be consumed with that and define ourselves as that, or we can be like, I'm never in lack. I'm never in lack. The creator that created the whole universe, it says the earth is the Lord's and all that therein is, and I am the Lord's. And so in that way, I'm God's, and I can just be like, hey, you have all the resources. Will you help me come up with a real solution for this life situation that's facing me now? But if you keep insisting you're in lack and that only your old solutions will work, well, how did you get in this situation? If you keep repeating your old solutions, isn't that the definition of insanity that it's attributed to Einstein? It says we keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Well, this is something different, all right? Is be deeply present. All right, I just put look up, that the sun is shining. I don't know if it flips around, but let's see. There's the sun, all right? And so there's a verse that I like that says, look up, for your redemption draws nigh. It's drawing near you right now, or this video wouldn't have come to you, right? I look at it like that. And so it doesn't have to be a problem. It's just in the isness of this moment. And so that's what I was going to say, is if you imagine yourself, now we're going back in time for a second, when you were little, and you sat at a playground and you were swinging on the swings, and another kid comes up and you're just like, let's swing, do you want to be my friend? And they're like, yeah, let's swing, and it's like, who are you? Are you your personality self? Are you your age? Are you your skin color? Are you your hair type? Are you your religion? Like, in that moment, you're welcoming the beingness of that person. You're not even your gender, all right? You're beyond that, because it doesn't matter if it's a boy or it's a girl. When you're like 5, you don't care. You're just like, yeah, let's play. Let's swing. We can both swing, right? If you're old enough to swing. But anyway, maybe they're the little swings sometimes. And so, so whatever the age, right? And so, if you won like $10 million and you're still insistent, let me go back to that verse I was saying, Jesus saying, you must forgive or you won't be forgiven. It's like, if here's this heart of love and I'm blocking it over with unforgiveness, then I'm not experiencing this flow of love through me. That's all there is to it. It's like I'm blocking it because I'm insisting I'm not going to have love until that person pays me back. Well, do you want to wait your whole lifetime waiting for that person to get it, to wake up to this deeper knowing, to say, I'm so sorry that I didn't swing with you in that love, it's just being loving. Like, I didn't go in that flow. I didn't roller skate with you. I didn't show up in that present moment in a loving way. All right. If you do that, then you're beholden to them. Now, of course, I do that thing where I show the parent up here and the child down here. Here's the big parent and here's the child. And when we're a child, we're waiting for our parents to give us the love we always wanted. And so we're used to waiting for the love to come and trying to please them, or trying to read their mind and find out, what did I do wrong that you're withholding the love? And it's like, no, it could be that they're with Mother Teresa. I think it was Mother Teresa said, if someone doesn't have, they don't know that they have this love, if it's not flowing in them because they have bitterness or unforgiveness or whatever, then they don't have it to give away. All right. And so that's not personal. That's not like, I use the example sometimes of, I got ghosted years ago, one time by this one person, And I had to ask someone else, what just happened? I was talking to this person, I really cared about them, and then they just stopped talking, and they're like, oh, that's called ghosted. So they had to explain to me what that was. And then it brought up all this old pain from childhood, because it doesn't, you don't take it personally if it's someone you don't know. But if it's someone you really connected with on a deep, like, soul level, then it can reenact childhood ways that you were ghosted in childhood. And that's an opportunity. It doesn't have to be a problem. It was a problem at the time because I was identified with it. And it's like, you ought never, ever get your identity from someone else defining you by their actions. Their actions could be dismissive and rude and discarding, but that does not mean that you are meant to be discarded. That's just their actions. It's just like our parents could be messed up on some kind of substance, or yelling, or caught in unforgiveness, or they're trying to prove their worth to someone else, and they're not getting a sense of worth back because they're not connected to the source of all worth, which is God, who sent his only son to die for us, like for the whole world. So that's not excluding any religion, because Christ came for everyone. If you've never heard that, ask me about it, and I'll talk more, and I've talked more in other videos. But it's like, I never get tired of talking about the love of God. But anyway, when you're rooted in that love, and sometimes when you're rooted in your sense of being, and you just recognize, wait, I have this being essence that's way more than all my problems, and sometimes when you connect with another person in being, it becomes like like a Billie Holiday song, she sings a song like, I only have eyes for you, dear, right? If everyone's walking on the crowded avenue, I don't know if it's something, or if we're walking on a crowded avenue, I only have eyes for you. It's basically like, when you feel this love, when you connect with it, it's like, you feel like that feeling state's going to last forever, and that's all you need. And love is all you need, but God is always offering us this love. And so it's so weird because, okay, so I dated this one person, and on his social media profile, that's the one thing I appreciate him as a person, but he said on his social media profile, it said, stop chasing what your mind wants, and you'll get what your soul needs. All right. I don't even know if you call it dating. Like, I just hung out with this person. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not trying to, anyway. And so, but that was in the stages of getting to know his character and if I wanted to date him or not. And so anyway, but I loved that quote. I loved that, and it keeps coming up to my mind. And so if you go back to this idea of not creating problems, your mind will want to create a problem, because then it's like, oh, I'm going to feel really important when I solve that problem. I'm going to feel like here's drama, and I resolve that drama. It's just like if you watch a story, you love, this building drama, and then when it's resolved, you get this release. And so sometimes this is why people will watch TV a lot instead of be deeply present, and they think they're going to, this present moment is going to scare them, but it's not. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be present in it. Is because it's easier to be once removed. But you're worth more than just the easy response, right? To be once removed and just watch the drama and then feel a relief when it's resolved in a TV show or even in a song, and look, of course, we can enrich our lives by reading a play by Shakespeare or by engaging in one TV show, or whatever. But when we're lost in that, and we're so afraid of living our own life because of the pain we've had in our past, we're running from, I keep getting reminded to show my fingernails, right? Like, we're running from your soul essence. You have this opportunity to enter into the sacred. You are sacred. This present moment is sacred. This isn't about suppressing and denying and saying, oh, it's not a problem. It's not a problem that you just stepped all over me. And and ran into my parked car, that is a life situation that I would have to deal with if that just happened. Like, cancel that thought, right? I heard a guy say that, and I liked it, but it's just like, we're not, anyway, like I have laundry that I want to put away, and I want to make a commitment, or a priority for it to be done soon, right? And not keep putting that off. But it doesn't have to be a problem. Right now, if I started focusing on it instead of being present with you in this video, it would take away from this presence. And so what Eckhart Tolle was saying, and what Jesus is talking about, is that, he says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has enough problems of its own, like, for you to face then. And put your hand to the plow and don't look back. And that doesn't mean we can't learn from the past. We definitely can. But everything right now you don't have to make it this giant problem. And if we do keep making it a problem, then our present will be weighed heavily by all this past unforgiveness, or this past dread of something imagined that we have in the future. He says to ask yourself regularly, am I at ease in this moment? I thought of the word J-E-L, because he says, am I in joy? I forgot what the E, and L is lighthearted. At ease, E. So J-E-L can be, am I in joy? There's a verse that says, the joy of the Lord is my strength. That's this joy that Christ came to reconcile us to a perfect God. But this was written in the Old Testament, and there's always joy in that. But that, anyway, so if God is this uncreated, perfect creator, and you connect yourself with that, and you sit in that, I am in God, God made me out of God, and I can connect with this truth and know this truth, then you feel this joy of your being self. If you understand salvation is meant to reconcile us to that forever. Anyway, none of this has to be a problem. All of the problems bring us to this point of going, wait, like all of the ghosting problems helped me understand my worth was tied into something external. And that can be broken down just to egotism instead of your soul self connected to the creator. That's idolatry. That's a repetition of childhood, of me as a little kid looking for my love in all the wrong places, and my parents. And it was the right place to look in childhood. But if they didn't do an excellent job in that by teaching you to look for it in God, then you didn't internalize that you were worth, all right? But even that doesn't have to be a problem. It got us to this place of being present so we can find really like deeper solutions and be in this present moment. And anyway, that's all the time I have today to reflect on this. We don't have to have any more problems. Just start practicing that and see what happens. No more problems. God help us in each of these situations. Much love.